I missed the ding. The ding used to be great. It would be like, all right, you're live, and now it just starts. So you have to watch. Anyway. Hello, one and all, and welcome back to Neek the Pull List podcast, the show where Josh and I talk about the books that we've read. I'm not going to put a time limit on it anymore because now it's like 1 week to like 3 weeks. I don't know. So this is the show where we talk about the comic books that we're reading and the books that you should be reading as well. We've been kind of on hiatus since we did our Batman vs. Superman episodes. We still have 2 more episodes planned for that series that come later on. So don't look for them too soon, but you'll get them. Don't worry. So Josh, we're just going to jump right into it. Comic books.
Let's do it.
We love them. We love comic books. We're about to hit April. A lot of comic books are about to start just like flying out. Too many, actually.
Yeah, we've got 2 major events on the horizon. DC's Rebirth and Marvel's Civil War 2 are both dropping late May, early June. But the build up to those are both dropping in April. Marvel has already started their Road to Civil War 2 arc, and Avengers Standoff is a huge part of that also, with the Thunderbolts. You know, the return of Bucky Barnes is kind of the Kickstarter for all of this. Him and Iron Man's arc also in Invincible Iron Man. The DC's Rebirth, which we just found out about last Saturday.
Yeah, that was a huge information dump. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah,
as much as we love to talk about tonight. Yeah,
Justice League with Justice League 50. That's basically going to be the ending of what we've come to know as Convergence was supposed to be the end of the New 52, but this is truly the end of the New 52, and Rebirth is going to be kind of the Marvel now of this universe, right. I guess you could say. It's not a complete restart. It's not another New 52. It's not an all-new, all-different Marvel. It's not a Secret Wars. It is quite literally just the Marvel now. They're going to bring it more in line with the DCCU. If you're seeing the characters on screen or in the TV shows, they're going to be on the page more. Right. That's what they want to push more. That's what they want you to know. And it's a good strategy is what it is.
It's a really good strategy. It takes their main continuity and they make it more consistent across the brand. So that way you're not like completely confused. It's like, hey, I want to read Batman. Now is your chance. Go read Batman from number 1. Like Josh said, it's more Marvel now, which is more, this is a re-strategizing, retooling of the tools that they have at DC, meaning their characters and their writers. This gives writers a chance to wrap up the stories they've been working on and start new stories they wanted to write, and bring old writers in to start new stories and have, the guys who are writing current stories to keep writing those stories if they wanted to.
All new creative teams. There's some really exciting stuff going on. Yes. Jeff Johns is going to be leaving Justice League. Scott Snyder is leaving the main Batman title, but will be doing All-Star Batman. Greg Rucka is going to be doing Wonder Woman.
Which, okay, Josh, you know how I've been kind of like lukewarm on Wonder Woman recently. With them
how excited are you and I for this one, right?
When they announced that Rucka was coming to write Wonder Woman, I was like, okay, so that's like an instant pull list. Like, that's going on my list. I'm going to
what else is on our instant pull list? Our boy Terry McGinnis.
Terry McGinnis is coming back to Batman Beyond. When the New 52 started, they took him off and they threw Tim Drake in as Batman Beyond, and I didn't like it at all. And so I stopped.
You love Tim Drake.
Yeah, I love Tim Drake. Don't get me wrong, but not as Batman Beyond. No, that's a McGinnis role, and I'm really interested to see how they fold him back into that. So we'll see.
Some really exciting stuff. But in April, great. Next week, we have 2 huge comics dropping.
Next week, the book that we've been talking about since we started this show, we are finally getting that Black Panther book. Finally coming out next week.
The hype for this is so real right now. You have everybody from comic book sites and pop culture sites like IGN talking about this to literally The Atlantic talking about this. In fact, a correspondent for them, Tanishi Coates, is the writer of this. A Nobel laureate is writing this book. A National Book Award winner is writing this. Brian Selfris is doing the art. It looks beautiful.
Okay, so I read an interview that they did with him, and I'm no longer worried about this. I'm not worried about this book. For a time, I was worried because there's so much excitement, there's so much hype. I was like, well, what if he doesn't live up to it? But then I read this interview, and I read how how seriously he's taking the process, and how he had to take a step back because he's a writer. He's a damn good writer, but he's not a comic book writer, and he knows that, and that's what's the most important part to me. He was like, he has to think about his approach when his writing is happening, because it's not just like writing. You have to it's writing that comes to life with an artist, and that has to work. And luckily, he's had such a fantastic artist that has been able to convey the way he writes. We see the previews, and the previews look incredible.
Right. I mean, he said that the Marvel editorial team has been super helpful on this.
Mm-hmm.
They actually brought him on their editorial retreat last year, where Civil War II was conceived, and they got his input on this. Like, okay, how will your iteration of Black Panther, how would he react to these events? Like, what side would you see him taking post Secret Wars? They let him in on the ending of it. How would you see T'Challa reacting? And so he fields questions from fans every single day on Twitter,
every single day on
giving
Twitter,
insight without giving spoilers.
He's so active, and it's fantastic. He's so good.
He is so passionate about this. He's already confirmed he has written the entire first year of the comic.
Mm-hmm.
He's already written 12 issues. He's like, we've already got a lot of the art done. People are asking, when are you going to start meeting with fans? He goes, I want to do my first Comic-Con after a full year is out of this. He doesn't refer to it as a year or as a run. He refers to them as seasons. So
Mm-hmm.
he goes, season 1 is ready. That is the best way I think you can describe a year of a comic book now, is a season. He goes, the first 12 issues are an arc.
Yep.
And that's awesome. He keeps referencing Storm. He keeps talking about Storm. He keeps showing images of Panther and Storm.
You know how I feel, because when things got left off in Avengers versus X-Men with them. It was in shambles. I'm really hoping he salvages that relationship, because it is one of the most important relationships, not just in comics, but in relationships as far as diversity goes in media.
I mean, it's so important in fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Obviously, you can attest to that a lot more than I can. And I know
that is the couple that when I talk to anybody, any Black people like me, they're like, Storm and T'Challa. A lot of these people don't read comic books, but they know that relationship because it's the one that's moonlighted the most. And it's a powerful relationship.
That's one I really wish we could see on the screen too.
Oh, that would be so nice to see, especially with this new Storm. I like her. I don't even know her name, but I like her.
Yeah, it's gonna be really exciting. We have another big comic coming out next week, though, adding to the ever-expanding Star Wars arsenal over at Marvel. Poe Dameron, written by a favorite of ours, Charles Soule, who did last year's phenomenal Lando. This is not a limited series, though. This will be an ongoing one, showing Poe from his beginning days as a pilot in the New Republic, and how he came to join the Resistance, came to meet up with BB-8, and this and that.
I would buy that variant cover. I'm gonna buy it because it's gonna be a thing.
It's set in. It's obviously set. They're saying it's going to be a couple of years before The Force Awakens. It's going to be ongoing. They're like, people receive it well. We're going to keep it going. It's pretty much replacing Kanan at this point, which was canceled a few months ago. It just ended its run, I think, either this month or next month. This is something people were saying the minute The Force Awakens came out. We want more of him. We want more of this character. This is someone telling us his backstory isn't going to ruin it. We already know where his parents came from. Give us some of his adventures. Show us the best pilot in the galaxy
and how he got that title.
Right, and that's what they're saying. This title is going to be all about. It's going to be big. Not as big as Black Panther. It's not as anticipated as that for either of us.
I would say that there are probably people who are really excited about that book, because it's more of the new Star Wars that people have been craving.
It is the first story we're getting that's set that far in the timeline outside of The Force Awakens. So that's going to be really exciting to get to see those characters again before Episode 8. I had assumed, I was like, oh, we're going to get a Poe Dameron comic. I was like, you're not going to do a novel with him. That if you do a comic with any character, that's who you do it with.
It'd be I really hope it's pretty, because this seems like that could be such a pretty book.
The art looks very similar to Lando, or not to Lando. It looks a little similar to his run on Daredevil right now. It's different. It's different from what we've seen. They've kept it very secretive. But I'm really excited to see where they go. They haven't really shown any pages from it, and it's coming out next week. They announced it 2 months ago it's already coming out. That's weird because they've been teasing Panther since like last summer.
Yeah, they have been. Like, they teased them. Well, I mean, it was. If you think about that, that was literally, that's a cannon, and they were like, "What do we do? I guess we just shoot it off now and let the fallout happen later on," which they did. So they told us about it really early on, and so
there was some really mixed reactions to the Panther news at first. I know we weren't really quite sure how to react, right. You and I, and then we took a couple days to process it. We're like, holy hell, this is going to be amazing. And the more we tried to keep the expectations in check, but once about November or December hit, and then especially that final issue of Secret Wars, when he had the gauntlet and the ending with him and the perfected Wakanda, we're like, nope, we need it now. We cannot wait until April. It's now less than a week away. It's like 4 days away at the time of this recording.
Oh man,
it's really time.
Excited. Like, we might just do an episode like that day.
Just for Panther and Poe. The PP episode.
Exactly. The P and P. All right. So
let's dive into some of these comics.
All of our geeking out. So I guess, it's time to start talking about what we read. I guess I'll just go down the titles of what I read, and then we'll get into it a little bit. So I'll go first, and then how about you'll go, Josh? All right. Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so past few weeks I caught up on the Invincible Iron Man. Awesome. International Iron Man, I read that. Also awesome business. Justice League Darkseid War, we'll talk about that because I remember saying that I wasn't going to read it, and I ended up reading it, trust me. Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Totally Awesome Hulk. Those are all the books that I'm caught up on right now, and oh man, I can't wait to talk about them. So what'd you read, Josh?
So I've been keeping up with all new, all different Avengers. Still I think my favorite of the new Marvel books, especially with the standoff arc now going on. Doing the one-offs and such. It's going through a couple different titles. I picked up the 75th anniversary Captain America issue this past week. It's called Sam Wilson Cap, but we'll get into why that's kind of misleading for this week's issue. And why it's a really important issue I think anybody should pick up. Picked up Scott Snyder's Batman number 50. Also very important. We had a lot of important issues come out.
That's a real big one.
I also have been keeping up with Justice League. All the way caught up. I finished 48, eagerly awaiting 49 now.
Same. Yeah.
Did International Iron Man. And, oh God, I had one other one. What is the other one that I did? I did another really big one. I cannot remember it for the life of me now. If I remember it, we'll get to it.
Yeah, it'll come up.
It'll come to me eventually. It'll just flow over me like the colors of the wind.
It's because I think it's on the tip of my tongue now too, because we were just talking about it.
We literally were just before we went on the air. We were talking about this, and now it's really making me upset that I don't remember it.
That's all right. You'll remember. I promise. So anyway, Iron Man, Invincible Iron Man. So I guess we're gonna combine the two of those because it's Iron Man. So I caught up on the Invincible Iron Man. The most recent issue, number 7, is The Road to Civil War. That's where it starts. Yeah. So we know Tony. This book has been a joy to read because it's so much it's Tony Stark, the good, snarky, fun Tony Stark. That's what this book has been. But we've also been seeing more of the human Tony Stark come out again, which is really good to see. He's in a relationship, but Victor Von Doom keeps showing up and throwing his life off. It's so
Victor Von Doom is very much the comic relief in this, and
is in the best way.
It's really ironic.
I just never anticipated that's how they would use Doom, but it's in the best light. I like him like this. I like Doom like this because he's charismatic, he's funny, he's powerful, and you know it because Tony knows. And he's on his toes every single time that he's around, which is great. But they've been fighting Madame Mask, and there's a bunch of stuff with demons and possession, and Doctor Strange has come around a few times, and that's been hilarious.
Battle axe.
Yes. Oh my god. But yeah, so there's a lot of magic in an Iron Man title, and I wasn't ready for that, but I like it a lot because it literally has Tony's the one that's kind of I don't know how this works, but I'm gonna do what I do anyway. and it's pretty great. The Iron Man suit in this book is phenomenal. We get a samurai Iron Man armor for a second, and it was one of the coolest things I've seen. Do you remember that?
I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need that to make a cameo in one of these movies.
It needs to happen in a movie because now that that's happened, now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. It needs to be
we need House Party Protocol Edition 2 in Infinity War to fight Thanos and the Chitauri. That's all I'm saying.
The samurai armor was pretty badass. Samurai sword and everything. It was really cool. And then kind of spinning out of the Invincible Iron Man now, because I don't want to spoil what's happening with the, like, it got real tense in book 7, like real tense.
Especially that ending. The ending especially. It makes you wonder, like, what is happening?
Right.
You definitely see where the tension is going to start with the road to Civil War.
Yeah, and it's really strange because they left a lot. They left like 3 separate cliffhangers at the end of that book, which I was really confused and interested by, but it's going to be good. Just War Machine. Be worried about him. Next, so International Iron Man. This book, it starts with a current conflict, but it goes back to fill in some backstory about a character that we meet. And we get more backstory about young Tony Stark, which I have been really interested to see. And Bendis is writing both of these, by the way. And so he's got a very good handle on this character right now. And young Tony is confused. He's upset with his father, so he's abroad. Actually, I think he's in England, London to be specific. And so he's off being Tony Stark on his own, and it's really interesting to see how this character grew into what he is now. They don't necessarily match up. This younger Tony seems a little bit more gritty and serious than our current Tony, but I guess those are going to line up here soon. So that's the one thing where I'm like, well, this guy seems more like put together an adult than the current Tony that we have. And this is like teenage Tony. So, well, I guess I shouldn't say teenage. He's like early 20s.
Yeah.
So, but it's a good book. Like at first I was like, I'm going to pick it up because it's another Iron Man book. Probably won't be too good. But no, if you like Tony Stark, if you like that character, this is a good book. It's very good because it's more of that character. So it's more of what you want.
For sure. And that's kind of been one of my biggest surprises going into All New, All Different Marvel is how good Bendis has managed to write Tony Stark. I know I was definitely worried when I saw him writing Iron Man. I even told Ray, I was like, oh God, Bendis is writing Iron Man. Like, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. The art for the first one, the cover art, I was like, nope, that looks like a kid's book. I'm not touching it.
It looks super Iron Man-y, like
it looked terrible.
Mighty Avengers Iron Man.
It looked like I was going to pick up a grade 2 read to me picture book.
It sort of did. It was super colorful and like.
And then I opened it up and I was like, "Holy hell, this is gorgeous!" The artist for the first 5 books, by the way, the first story arc is doing Civil War 2. Every issue that we have seen the first couple pages of it.
Oh yes, please!
It's the best looking book Marvel's put out since probably the first issue of Secret Wars.
Wow, the Black Widow book that's currently being run is beautiful.
It looks better.
What? Oh,
I will send you the images. It looks better.
I'm gonna fight you on that because that Black Widow book is gorgeous.
It is, but this looks better. Anyways, though, Invincible Iron Man. We've said it before. Pick it up. If for nothing else, pick it up for Victor Von Doom.
Yes, because it's just their chemistry is
the fact that we have
so good.
Tony Stark, Victor Von Doom, and Mary Jane Watson running around in the same book.
In the same book, by the way. Mary Jane adds something completely different to this book. It's great. And I almost forgot. We can't forget about Friday. Friday has been the best. Friday is amazing. I was like, Friday's perfect. This is the way I want Friday in every movie going forward. Because Friday is perfect, and Friday is the AI in Tony's systems now. If you didn't know, but yeah, she is phenomenal. Bendis is writing her really well.
Jarvis is my co-pilot.
Oh, it's okay. Jarvis is still with us in the movies. It's fine.
I know he is.
All right, Josh. So, which one of your books you want to talk about?
I want to dive into. Diving into. Avengers requires me to also dive into Captain America since it's all part of the same event, Standoff.
Okay.
I talked about the first issue of Standoff, I think, a couple weeks ago, Assault on Pleasant Hill. It was really weird. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way at first, until I got to the cliffhanger, and even then I was like, I still don't know how I feel about this. You don't have to read every tie-in in this. It's only a 2-month event, so it's only a couple of core issues. Like there's 3 one-shots, and then there's a couple of core issues you're going to need to read in order to understand this event. From what I figured out, you can read the 2 issues of Avengers, the 3 one-shots, and I'm going to say the Captain America issues.
Okay.
So all new, all different Avengers. The Avengers get called to Pleasant Hill. Something's happening. It's been attacked. But before that, we see Steve meeting with Bucky. Bucky, in the first one-shot, was breaking into a SHIELD facility and was finding out about Pleasant Hill. The one-shot that came out at the end of February, it's a city that's really a facility for repurposed supervillains.
Okay.
That they're trying to reintegrate into society. They're making them believe that they're normal, functioning, productive members of society. Among them is Baron Zemo.
Interesting.
Who gets his programming reversed in the second half of that book. It's basically all Zemo, and basically reforms the Masters of Evil and all of this.
Wow.
In Pleasant Hill, and starts blowing it up.
Okay.
And Maria Hill is lying to everybody about it because Maria Hill is an evil SOB, apparently.
Yes.
So Maria Hill tracks down, Bucky and Cap. Bucky escapes, and she takes Cap with her back to Pleasant Hill to show him what's going on. And he calls in the Uncanny Avengers. Well, the Avengers show up there. The regular team of Avengers minus Sam Wilson, because Sam Wilson's been meeting with Rick Jones, who is the one who leaked all of this to the public.
Interesting.
So it's a little confusing to follow. You got to read all the one shots and everything, but that's where we're at in Avengers. And so this issue from the cover art is Avengers, the all new Avengers versus the Uncanny Avengers.
Oh boy.
And it's kind of weird. The ending of it is really bizarre.
Right.
It's really bizarre, but it's kind of par for the course for this event. Didn't really like the ending of it, but I saw where they were starting to go with it. The Captain America issue, on the other hand, though, I do not read Sam Wilson Captain America. I picked this issue up on a whim because it's the 75th anniversary of Cap. It's his 75th anniversary issue. We're going to go into a little bit of spoiler territory on this issue, so I can talk about why it was such a good issue.
Okay.
It really is a one-off issue. It's not really about Sam Wilson. The very beginning of the issue is Sam, and it kind of explains why he was not there with the Avengers in Pleasant Hill. He shows up on his own with Bucky Barnes.
Okay.
And they're reminiscing about their old time together, and Bucky's explaining why he's back, why he's no longer the man on the wall. Which, if you remember Original Sin, he took Nick Fury's place as the Guardian of Earth, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And Bucky's telling Sam, I know you and Steve have your differences now, but I think you're the perfect person to be Cap now. And I know Steve deep down thinks that too, and still considers you to be one of his closest allies, even if he doesn't show it. And the exchange between them is really touching. Between these old allies,
right? Between the old friends,
right? And Sam is telling Bucky, I thought you were a great Cap too. And, Bucky's really brushing it off like, no, I really wasn't. I wasn't worthy of the shield. But you, Sam, you are, no matter the attitude Steve gives you or anybody else gives you, because that's a big theme in Sam's book is people keep telling him he's not worthy of the shield. He's not worthy to be Cap. They've been telling him that since he became Cap 2 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of echoes what's happening in our real world. People are like, Sam Wilson, he's not Captain America. Steve Rogers is Captain America. No one batted an eye when Bucky Barnes became Captain America, though.
Nobody, which always frustrated me. But
because if anybody was worthy, it's Sam Wilson,
not
a former assassin.
No,
but we're not going to get into that today.
That's a whole different episode.
And it cuts to all of a sudden, old man Steve is getting the crap beat out of him by Crossbones, who is one of the repurposed prisoners. And Steve starts having flashbacks to other events in his life, bullies beating him up, this and that. And he's reminiscing kind of about his life. And, it gets towards the end and he kind of accepts, he finds the girl that everybody's searching for, Kobiak, who is the cosmic cube who's essentially come to life, who's gained sentience that Maria Hill basically brought to life.
Interesting.
Because Maria Hill is an asshole and thinks she's doing what's best for these supervillains, but Zemo, Crossbones, and...
That's been Maria Hill for a long time.
Someone else that I'm definitely not going to spoil are in Pleasant Hill, and they're causing problems now. They want to find this because if they can control the cosmic cube that's alive, they will basically destroy reality. Isn't that just so original?
Sounds familiar, actually.
And so as Crossbones is beating Old Cap, he's literally beating Steve Rogers to death. All of a sudden you see the shield come flying through the window, and Steve is accepting he's going to die. He literally says to Crossbones, just kill me. Like, I'm done. I'm done fighting. I can't anymore. Like, he accepts his own death. And you see one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a comic in such a long time. And it's this spread. It's a 2-page spread, and there's quotes all over the page. And you see scenes from throughout Steve's life. Like there's an assembling of the original Avengers down here. In another corner, there's him and Bucky in World War II. There's the Winter Soldier over here. There's all 3 Caps in one corner. But in the middle of the page, there's Tony Stark and Steve Rogers laughing together with their arms around each other. And that struck me so hard, knowing that Civil War is coming next month. It's like, you put it there on purpose. You guys put that there on purpose.
They're playing with our emotions again.
And Steve basically says, his last quote is basically like, I didn't do it. In the end, I'm realizing in my last moments, I never did this for my country. I always did it for them. And it says for them next to his teammates. But that's when the shield comes through and the girl... That's how he becomes young again, like they were teasing he was going to.
Oh, so she decides to do that.
She decides because time freezes and she holds out her hand like a kind of like cosmic cube moment. Do you want your strength back? And you're like, huh? She goes, I can give you your strength back. And she holds out it. She grabs his hand, and all of a sudden he just wails on Crossbones. And Bucky and Falcon Bucky and Cap are just standing like, huh? And he turns around, he's like, it's good to be back. It's just how it ends. Dashing as ever. It's like, so it teases, like, basically, I have to pick up issue 8 now because it's all 3 Caps are together now.
Well, that's a really interesting thing. I want to see how that turns out.
That, and, we don't go into spoilers on this show, but it's so important to me because that's a huge moment for Steve Rogers. And on one hand, I kind of wanted him to remain old. I was enjoying Grumpy Steve, but he's being wasted in Uncanny Avengers right now. That's a waste of a book. It's a waste of him.
Well, you can't... Captain America can't exist where he's not Captain America. You know what I mean? Well, Steve Rogers, anyway.
Yes or no. He became a product of his environment. I mean, he needed to be older. These characters need to change, but I am a little bit worried that now this might signal that, we're going to start changing some of these other characters back. He will not go back. He's not going to go back to being Captain America. He will continue being Steve Rogers, Super Soldier. Yep, he's going to continue to be that.
I know what you mean. I'm curious about.
I'm very worried about Jane Foster.
I'm worried about Thor. Yeah.
Considering the storylines that they've been introducing in all new, all different Avengers with her.
So, I have a theory about how that could turn out. And we get Jane Foster ascending to Odin status and Thor becoming Thor again. But that's just a theory. You have to read the books to understand that theory. So that could be interesting.
And then the back half of this book has three small short stories. One with Steve and Natasha, one with, and then one that's just kind of there. One, Greg Rucka wrote one. Joss Whedon himself wrote one too.
That's crazy to me. They got some really good guys to write.
They got some really good guys to come in and do these short stories. All three are excellent. They're great Cap. This is classic Cap here. Just highly encourage you to read them. It's a $6 issue. It's supersized. You get the main story, which is already long for a comic, and then you get the three short stories in the back. It's worth the $6. Highly encourage anybody who's even has a passing interest in the storylines that cross over between Bucky, Sam Wilson, and Steve Rogers to pick this one up. It's, if nothing else, it's the 75th anniversary. It's worth it. It's definitely more worth it than the $10 I paid for Deadpool's 25th anniversary or whatever it was.
Man.
So I'm still salty. But Ray, what's your next one?
So the next one I'm gonna do is Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, she is in space. She took a job for the Alpha Squadron space station. So Alpha Flight, sorry. But yeah, she is like the first line of defense for cosmic problems in space. So I guess to summarize this book is they basically explore dangers in the immediate vicinity of Earth and space, and they take care of them before any of the other lines of defense on Earth have to be activated. So it's literally just Captain Marvel and maybe 4 or 5 other people. And they take care of the big Earth stuff before they get to Earth. Sasquatch is the main. But it's a really cool book so far. Right now, somebody tried to pretty much throw a meteor shower at the space station, destroying it. That was foiled. Turns out that this was a part of a bigger plan. This random old Kree spaceship shows up, and it's causing problems with Carol's powers. And now she's having these weird episodes, where she is seeing herself as Mar-Vell on a mission early on in his life. It's really interesting to see early Mar-Vell stuff when he's fighting with the Kree army. And so there's that, and there's also this plot to blow up the space station. They tried to blow up the Alpha Flight. So there's a traitor among them, and they haven't figured out who it is just yet. But this book is only 3 issues long right now. It's been out since 2015, I believe, and this only on the 3rd issue. At the end, just a little spoiler is that there is that spaceship that I told you about that showed up. It docked itself. They docked it to the station, but they couldn't disconnect it from the station because it had grown organically into the station. And so it gets really interesting for the ending panel of that is ominous, to say the least. It's a good book. I like it. It started off a little slow, but now it's actually starting to pick up fairly quickly, and I'm hoping so, because she's supposed to be a big part of Civil War. So I'm just does she just ditch all this and go back to Earth all of a sudden when she hears what's happening, or what? So I'm sure they're gonna. I hope that's not how they conclude what's happening in space for her. So we'll see, but it's so far, it's good. I mean, it's not bad.
The book suffered some delay.
Yes, it did. Heavy delays.
Then it's going to be lagging a little bit behind then, for it to catch up with her going back to Earth.
Yeah.
So the new Marvel are just going in 5 or 6 issue swaths.
But I like the book. It's good. It's well written.
I love the creative team behind it. It's a team from Agent Carter.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, no, I had them confused. So I had them confused, because the team that's writing the 100, they're writing the new Birds of Prey book in Rebirth, but this team is from Agent Carter. Yes. So I had that flip flopped. But yeah, I like all the characters in this book. All the characters in this book are great. Sometimes there might be there's a few too many, but they all kind of work themselves out in the space that they're in, which is pretty cool. But it's a good book. It's nice to see Carol Danvers like on her own with this team handling these problems in space. It's pretty cool. So definitely pick it up, check it out. It's still pretty early to get in on it, so do that.
Well, Ray, I think we've talked enough Marvel for tonight. Let's do some DC.
But we're going to come back to Marvel. But yeah, let's talk about DC for a while.
Let's talk some Batman 50.
So tell me, Batman 50. Tell me about
Scott Snyder's final issue of the Batman core series. A very fitting end to what I consider, one of the finest runs in one of the most historic comics of all time. So Batman, for those of you who don't know, for roughly the last year or so, has not been Bruce Wayne. Jim Gordon has been Batman. And Mr. Bloom has been the main nemesis. This is the conclusion to that whole arc. I'm not going to go into any spoilers or anything. It's a supersized issue. There's a lot going on in it. There's still stuff at the end that really needs to be resolved, that I'm hoping they'll pick up on in the next series. Whoever does Batman and Rebirth, I'm really hoping they'll pick up on some of the plot threads that are left there.
Okay.
I hadn't read Batman since the Court of Owls, probably. But Ray and I were talking actually before the show. Ray hasn't really read it regularly since then, correct?
Right, that's correct.
Which that's a great arc to have read it last time. I hadn't really dabbled, and I kind of stepped away from comics a little bit after that, and only really came back because of Hickman's Avengers, and that got me dabbling in everything after that. This one, I got interested back in Snyder's Batman, or at least in this arc, in the Bloom arc, back with issue 47 or 48, about the time we started this show, and picked up, or that we started Pull List, that is, not the main show, this show. Picked up the issue, liked it so much that I went back to the shop a couple of days later and bought all the issues in the arc. Bought all the ones from the past year.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I bought a lot of issues. Thank God for the dollar bin, which most of them were in, and my store cut me a huge discount since I'm in there pretty frequently.
What store is that, by the way? Plug it real quick.
Wild West Comics in Arlington, Texas. Thank you very much. I owe you
that
guys
probably
a
wasn't
lot.
necessary. I'm sorry.
You guys get an awful lot of business from Chelsea and I. And I can honestly say I was not a huge fan of the idea of Gordon, and especially the mechanized bat suits, because he's a very different crime fighter than Bruce Wayne. I was not a big fan of it when they announced it. That's part of the reason why I never picked up the arc at first. And I really picked it up on a whim because I thought the cover art was cool on that particular issue that I had happened to pick up. It was the cowl. It was the bat cowl with all these flowers coming out of the mouth and the eyes.
Creepy cover.
It was creepy, but it was really cool. I think it was issue 48. I picked it up on a whim, went back a couple days later. I was like, okay, that was a really cool issue. Went back, picked up all the previous issues that I hadn't read, which was a bunch. And I'm really glad that I did. It truly is the end of an arc. Again, it's another end of an era type issue, much like the Captain America one. There's a few unresolved things, they really need to deal with in Rebirth. But if they didn't, I wouldn't be too mad. They did tie up a lot of it, truly greatly. It does feel like the conclusion to Snyder's Batman. It doesn't feel like anybody will be able to replicate what he did, because in a lot of ways he redefined what Batman was for this generation.
He really did.
He
brought him back into more of the detective space.
Yeah, he really brought it back to more of a noir feel. And I really appreciate that about Scott Snyder. It's one of the reasons why I pushed so hard for him to be the writer of the Justice League. I really felt like he earned it from his work on Batman. But I'm not going to be disappointed. He's going to be writing All-Star Batman going forward, which
that's gonna. So what I read about that is it's going to be a lot of like mini stories. That's why there's so many different artists. It's because there's going to be so many different stories.
Yeah. It's going to be there's going to be some vehicular combat in it, like Mad Max style. Two-Face is going to be a major character in it.
Which is so strange to me.
They're bringing Two-Face back to the forefront. They're going to show why he's one of the more formidable and terrifying villains in Batman's rogues gallery. He's kind of faded away in recent times.
He really did. I don't know if
which
you
is
noticed.
Great. Batman has such a great rogues gallery, though. So many of the DC characters do.
They're bringing two of the more obscure ones back. So they're bringing back Two-Face and Clayface, but that's in a different book.
I'm more excited for Two-Face, honestly. Two-Face is one of my favorite characters, especially after Aaron Eckhart's portrayal of him in The Dark Knight, which I feel is criminally underappreciated. For me, I know everybody loves to rave about the Joker, and I'm like, yeah, the Joker was great. Aaron Eckhart, though, was the unsung dark horse of that movie.
He was really good in that movie.
And Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow, also in Batman Begins. Both of them criminally underappreciated actors in those films. Wonderfully written. People can whine and bitch and moan all they want about Christopher Nolan not understanding Batman. He understood the character of Bruce Wayne, and he understood the villains, outside of arguably Bane. I personally, yes, brother. For you. I personally like Bane a lot. I get a lot of shit for it on this show, but I like Bane a lot.
There's nothing wrong with liking Bane.
Even though Bane looks like he's not traditional Bane, he doesn't look like he's at WWE. He looks like he's wearing a rebreather and he's going to go scuba diving. And
after WWE.
And he robbed Kim Kardashian's closet with that fur coat he's wearing all the time.
Oh man, yes.
Oh, Black Jesus, save
but
the show.
we like Bane. It's fine. Don't worry. It's fine.
So, all joking aside, though, seriously, Batman 50 really fitting into it. I've never been into Detective Comics personally. I was never really able to get into it. Scott Snyder's Batman, though, really did rekindle my love of reading the core Batman series and made me not want to wait for collected editions anymore. I say that as someone who first read Death in the Family as a collected edition.
Well,
I mean, that was issues as they came out.
There are some, like, I hate to say it, but Batman has been the only hero that I've been buying in collected editions. I'm not mad about this. It's just he's the only one that I buy in collected editions.
I mean, it's just he's one of those few heroes I feel like with the arcs, especially with the way Snyder crafted some of his. He's the only writer I really feel that's written consistently since outside of Grant Morrison. Like, you have to read his in an arc. He specifically crafts his, the Mr. Bloom arc has been a year in the making. I mean, don't just piss off Convergence. This was awesome. Snyder was able to work so independently of everything else going on. They recognized they had something amazing on their hands. There's a reason why Batman was always in the top 10 that was filled with Marvel and The Walking Dead. There's a reason why Scott Snyder's Batman always got there. Yeah, Batman's name sells a lot, but there's a reason why Scott Snyder got in that. It's because he writes such great dialogue, and the art has been so consistently great too. It's your last chance to pick up Scott Snyder's phenomenal run on solo Batman. Do it. Definitely do it.
Yes.
Now, Ray, can we talk our other DC title that you?
Well, yes, we're gonna keep it in the vein of DC for a minute. Let's talk some Justice League Darkseid War.
This is such a confusing story.
It is very confusing, and I am not gonna. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna explain it because it confuses me to kind of explain it. But
there's no way to give you a 5-minute summary of this at all.
It's not like
start reading
for it to make sense. I mean, you'd have to, and for it to completely make sense, you have to go back pretty far. Honestly,
the immediate aftermath of Convergence, essentially.
Yeah, but
maybe even farther.
Yeah, actually, you have to go back further. But Josh, this is actually your fault. It's your fault that I'm reading this book.
I
Because
know those one
you
shots.
told me how great those one shots were, and then those one shots were fantastic. I was like, well, I have to know what happens next.
Here's the problem with those one shots. The one shots fit in around issue 6 or 7. Okay. I did not know that when I read them. I had not read any of the other issues. I had not read Justice League consistently ever.
Me
Okay.
either. Like I've never read Justice League
We praise Jeff Johns all the time. I've dabbled in Green Lantern. Okay. I dabbled in Green Lantern Rebirth, things like that.
I read his Green Lantern, and that's why I love him so much.
But I had never read Justice League just because Justice League is one of those like, oh, if a cool graphic novel comes out, I'll read it. If someone recommends a Justice League story.
Josh, I can't hear you. There we go. Nope, barely hear you.
Everyone who writes Justice League writes it so radically differently. I don't know why you couldn't hear me there for a second. Everyone who writes Justice League writes it so radically differently that it becomes difficult to keep in tune with the characters and with the story arcs properly, if that makes sense. It's a lot like whenever you have different creative teams on Avengers, switching between them. Sometimes you'll have really good runs for about a year or two, and then you'll have really bad runs for about 3 years. Or you'll have really meh runs for a while. I feel like with Justice League, you're either getting an amazing run or you're getting really meh runs. What I did not realize is we were seeing so much build up to an amazing run by Jeff Johns in Justice League. Now I want to go back and reread his entire run on Justice League.
Right. Like seriously, it's been kind of crazy.
There were seeds planted with Flashpoint for the Dark Side War. Like seriously, that far back. There were seeds planted that far back.
Like this is like Hickman Avengers type stuff. This is crazy.
This is on the level of Hickman's Secret Wars and Avengers. I've had to go back, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I had to cheat and use the internet for some of this. I was not gonna go buy
no, I did because I
was not gonna go buy $200 worth of DC Comics. I'm sorry.
Nor was I.
I don't have $200 of disposable income right now, says the guy who buys pop. I did not have $200 and dropped $90 on Final Fantasy 15.
Well, you know, $269 on a Ultimate
$269. No.
Final Fantasy 15, $269.
I did not have the money to drop that much on comic books. I'm sorry, unless I can go resell them all afterwards. And this is a run I would not go part with. I'm gonna wait for the omnibus and just buy it.
You have the $50 omnibus.
Pretty much. I'm just going to buy the collected edition and be done with it. I have read the whole core series. The core series does not do enough to explain it to you, though.
No.
Where Ray and I are at, though, where we've caught up to, we're on part 8 now, which is issue 48. And it is all out insanity right now.
It's war, like straight up war.
I don't say this lightly. You've got motherfucking Owlman out here. So.
He came out of nowhere. They were like, "Where's Owlman? I don't know where Owlman is today." He just shows up. It was like, well, fucking Owlman's here now. Everybody's screwed.
You've got all the Earth, all the Evil League essentially showing up. Ultraman is there.
Ultraman is so crazy.
It's like, oh my god! Like you've got all these people showing, like all the Earth 2 showing up, and it's like, what is happening right now? Like. And that there's just a jaw-dropping moment at the end of issue 48, and you're just left wondering, like, I need 49 now. Like, there's no way you're going to resolve this in 2 issues. And we got the absolute bombshell during the Rebirth announcement that in issue 50, in the final issue of Darkseid War, we're going to get the Joker's real name.
Yeah, like so that'll be canon going forward. Is the Joker's real name will be revealed,
which I'm really opposed to.
I mean, I should not say that I don't care, but it's not really that important that it should or shouldn't happen.
I don't want to say I don't care, but I do. I care to an extent, and I don't care to an extent.
Right.
I care because, for me, part of the menace of the Joker is you don't know who he is. He could literally be anybody on any street corner.
That is true.
And especially now that he's immortal. He's like Ra's al Ghul. He's immortal. We don't know what's going to happen with that. Are they going to retcon that or whatever? His name, it feels like just such a throwaway thing. Like, is that even necessary? Do we really need that? And by extension, are they going to now use that in the Suicide Squad movie?
I don't know. I don't know if it'll go that far. I really don't think so. Not yet, anyway. At least I hope not.
I hope not. That would seem just really, really dumb to shoehorn it in that fast. I mean, it just seems like this is the big, like, us ending this run of it isn't enough. We have to get more money.
It's like we have to wrap up as many storylines and as many, like, tie together as many threads to get people interested as possible.
That seems like something that would have been better revealed in Batman.
Yeah. That would have been good.
It feels really random because this has the Joker has nothing to do with what's happening
so
right
that's what I
now.
was about to say. It's like, does that mean that he actually has a hand in any of what's happening right now with Mobius and the Anti-Monitor and all that, and the anti-life equation and all that other crazy stuff? Like, I don't get it, but I don't know.
I don't either. I mean, I'll wait and see. It's Jeff Johns. I'll wait and see.
I trust him. I trust Jeff Johns. I do.
I trust Jeff Johns. I still think it's a dumbass decision, but
yeah. So anyway, Justice League 6 through 8 is basically they are trying to find out, like, so Darkseid's dead. Spoilers. Sorry. Like, not sorry. Darkseid's dead.
He dies pretty early in the arc.
Yeah.
Even though it's called the Darkseid War.
So, but there's still trouble brewing because they're looking for Mobius, the Anti-Monitor, the guy who destroys worlds for fun, essentially. That's why the crime syndicate is there, because their world got destroyed by the Anti-Monitor. But now he's without his chair because, hint, hint, Bruce Wayne has it. Batman is sitting above, on the Mobius chair.
Hey, one of the one-shots that I recommended and got Ray started on this.
And that's the one that got me hooked, actually. So they're looking for him. The crime syndicate, they have him all kind of locked up and sequestered all over because, it's the crime syndicate. You don't want an evil Justice League running around. So they have him locked up and contained. But of course, the crime syndicate had a contingency plan based off of their Owlman, which, Batman, he had a plan to bust them all out because the Anti-Monitor is coming to kill them. Like, he wants to murder them. I don't think we found out the exact reason why he wants them dead just yet, but he's coming to kill them. In the meantime, it looks like Grail, Darkseid's daughter, which there is no way in hell I'm going to try to explain how that works or how that happened. Because I can, if I could sit and kind of fumble over my words for about 20 minutes, I could tell you. But yeah, so Grail has the anti-life equation and I think is attempting to resurrect Darkseid. So Darkseid won't be dead for too much longer. And I won't tell you how they're doing that because it involves a key character. So that's pretty interesting. But so right now, Cyborg and Jessica Cruz, who is now controlled by Power Core, I think it is. I can't remember his name. But the evil Green Lantern from the crime syndicate somehow contained his presence, his will, in his ring, and now the person who had that ring, which is Jessica Cruz, is now being controlled by him and is functioning as himself for the crime syndicate. It's so strange. But anyway, this is it's one of the more interesting Justice League books I've read because there's so much happening. There's so much going on. And I really like how every character has a part. Nobody is unimportant at this point, which I have kind of struggled with in the past with some Justice League books. Like, some Justice League members were just there because they're part of the Justice League. But in these books, everybody has a part. We see Batman is in the Mobius chair. Superman is literally just the god of strength now, which at first didn't make sense to me. Still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But he is unbelievably powerful, but doesn't really remember who he is or what he used to stand for, like he did at one point. So they've been trying to wrestle with that at the same time. So it's not really like consistent. And right now, with Mobius, he does show up. And so now it's kind of an all out fight between the Justice League, the Crime Syndicate, and they're fighting Mobius. And it's just gotten really, really heated. I like that it's just these two teams teamed up because if they don't, well, I guess this Earth gets destroyed too. Not really sure, but I'm enjoying all of it. I really wasn't too keen on it at first because I mean I hadn't been reading too many DC titles. Josh will tell you that, and the one shots got me interested because they were different. We have Batman as a god; he's the god of knowledge. I've always wanted to see Batman with some sort of superpower to see how he would use it, see how it would work, and they handled it really well. He handles it really well. I mean, to a point. He's still got his faults, which is why he's still Batman, which is really cool. And then I read the Flash. The Flash. Oh man, that one off was fantastic. So the Flash was probably my favorite one off. And that's the reason why I kept reading. Actually, is because of the Flash and the Black Racer. And now that
for sure.
Now that they're just
Flash and Batman definitely were my favorites.
There is a moment in I think it's book 48 where the Black Racer and Flash are like they're one thing now, but Flash is constantly fighting the Black Racer because Black Racer is death. That's what he is. He's the embodiment of death. And there is a point where a character is being murdered and the Flash could save him and could stop it from happening, but he doesn't because he can't fight death because he is death.
It brings us such an interesting dichotomy to these characters.
It was so that moment was powerful because I was like, God, like Flash is one of them, the most like in the definition of the word hero. Flash is more of that than almost any of them. And to see that happen
Flash
to him,
are outside of Superman, he's probably the purest of them.
Right. And to see him struggling with this, I was like, wow.
He's definitely the most innocent.
Yes, because the death that was happening, he could have stopped. But because the Black Racer is also the Flash currently, it didn't happen.
That's definitely going to have repercussions going forward for a very long time.
Oh, yes. So Justice League Wars, it is the Justice League War, the Darkseid War. It's good. I will tell you that just straight up. It's good. I like it.
It's good. It's very difficult to just jump right into we did. I mean, we're familiar with these characters too.
I had to do a lot of research. I did a lot of internet research to make sense.
It's not bad. Don't feel bad cheating on this.
Mm-hmm.
If you read some background before you get these issues. I mean, if you want to wait for the collected edition, do it. I would almost recommend that at this point. We recommend you read this story. It's a phenomenal story. Jeff Johns is one of the best storytellers in comics today. One of the greats at DC, one of the greats in the industry. Wait for the collected edition, though, at this point. It'll all be compiled for you together. And then go read the background. Read the background of what's happened, what's led to this. Familiarize yourself with the background of the characters they're talking about. It's very hard to understand if you don't know the background of each of these characters. And we're not talking like, oh, Superman, Wonder Woman, and all of these.
Don't go that far back. We're just talking about Justice League. Yeah.
It's a very intriguing story, though. But like I said, there's some seeds that were planted as far back as Flashpoint. It's great, though. Everything in Jeff Johns' run has built to this ultimately, and it's a real treat to see it now, and it makes me want to go back and actually sit down and read his entire run now. So
it's good. It's worth it.
It's worth it.
All right. Well, with that, let's jump back to actually like a much lighter note. Let's talk about Kamala Khan and Miss Marvel for a second. So I have books 4 and 5 that I read. I think 5 was the most recent that came out. And this book, so I've kind of been on and off with this book. I know Josh has been he's really liked it from the beginning. I didn't always feel that way. And that's because I didn't understand the culture around the character. And it's a little hard at first because I was like, well, this is a completely different culture that I'm not used to. So I couldn't really relate to anything in the book. But I didn't, it's not like I'm going to say, oh, power through it. No, I didn't power through it. I was genuinely interested. I was genuinely curious. And so I read more into it and I went into it with a completely open mind. And I fell in love with this character. I love her culture, her background. I like what's happening in her little universe right here, which is still connected to the all new, all different Avengers. You see the Avengers like a few times in her book because she's a rookie. She is the most rookie of the group, next to Nova, I think. And Miles anyway. But this book pretty much talks about her school life, her love life, her family life, which is really interesting. It's one of the more interesting parts of the book. And there's just a lot of fun stuff that happens in this book, and it's kind of like, oh man, she's very much in the Spider-Man vein. Of like, the teenage kid in high school, and these are the problems that she has to deal with, and let's see how she deals with them and how she grows and she learns as she goes through her trials and tribulations. And it's really good. It's really fun. It's funny. It's lighthearted. It tackles some serious issues from time to time, some serious social issues, like people who are afraid of Muslims and in Islam, because that's their culture. But she is completely adorable and lovable, and there's no reason why you should be afraid of her. And so I really enjoy this book. It's pretty great. So yeah, Miss Marvel, go read it.
Miss Marvel's it's a great book, and honestly, I mean, if you're listening to this and you're a younger listener or you have younger siblings, this is an excellent first comic to get them into.
Yes, 100%.
This is the perfect comic to give a 14 or 15-year-old for the very first.
Matthew.
Thank you. This is an excellent comic to give a 14 or 15-year-old as their very first one. Even with them, now effectively rebooting it after Secret Wars, they're only, if you combine it with the original run, there's only like 24, 25 issues total.
Yeah, they're collected now, so
she's such a great addition to this universe. She's already a fan favorite. You just can't go wrong. She's so lovable. I like her personally better than Carol Danvers right now.
Same, yeah.
For me, and it's not that Carol isn't a good character. It's just she's a more compelling character. She's instantly more likable. She's more charismatic. You're drawn to her personality more right away.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's just, I feel like they've fleshed out more current Miss Marvel than they have Captain Marvel. So
absolutely,
like they've fleshed out all of her relationships, her family. It's really cool stuff. I really like it. I dig it. Well then, did you have another one?
No.
Okay.
Nope. The last one I had, you're not caught up on yet, and we can't really discuss that one without going into spoiler territory. So
all right. Well, next week.
Next week.
So my last one then that I caught up on, because the newest issue came out recently too, is Totally Awesome Hulk. So remember how I told you that this was the only book that was telling you what was happening with Bruce Banner?
Yes.
This is the only way you find out what happened to Bruce Banner, at least so far that I know.
Kidding me?
But this book is really good, Josh.
This is pissing me off, though. This is what Marvel does. They spread out the answers to all their books, and they make you buy all the freaking storylines and spend hundreds of dollars or lots of time refreshing Wikipedia for somebody to post.
But this book is one of my favorites. It literally, I told you when we first started talking about it, like doing this show, I hated the idea of that book because
I did too.
I didn't know.
I still don't like it.
I didn't know anything that was happening with that book. but I love this book. This book turned out to be great. Amadeus Cho is currently the Hulk. Just kind of catch up on that. He's pretty much doing the Hulk thing. He's fighting the big monsters that other people can't, and doing the Hulk thing with his sister. You know, catching those monsters and putting them back. She-Hulk is currently involved, as is Miles, which is awesome. By the way, Miles is so funny in this book. It's great. But they're fighting with Lady Hellbender currently. Fing Fang Foom showed up at one point, and it's mostly been about him trying to control the power of the Hulk rather than contain it, which has been really cool to see. Because we all know that Bruce Banner for a long time had been like trying to contain and or get rid of the power of the Hulk because he didn't like it. But Amadeus Cho totally wanted the power of the Hulk. And in this book, number 4, you find out how Amadeus becomes the Hulk that he currently is. And it was a really interesting and touching moment. It was a scene with T'Challa, Stark, and Banner after an event that happens in the first issue. Like it kind of wraps up what happened. And it's so interesting, but I don't even really want to share what happens, but Banner and Amadeus share a moment because there's a point where you see Banner crying, and he's like, "What's wrong?" Amadeus is like, "Everything's like, what's wrong? Everything's okay." And he's like, "I'm not crying for me, kid. I'm crying for you." And it's really cool. So, I would say that this is along the vein of if you want a first time comic to give to somebody like a young kid, this is another one to give to them because it's got the humor. It's cheesy sometimes. It's really good. Like it's a good book. And like I said, I love the Miles appearances. It's pretty fantastic. So read totally awesome Hulk. If you like the Hulk, you want to know what happens to Banner. You want something fun, but it's got a lot of action. Check it out. It's a good one.
Yeah, I've definitely had my interest piqued in this because I had no interest when they announced that Amadeus Cho was going to become the new Hulk. I thought we were really grasping at straws here for changing out our classic heroes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, if anything, Bruce Banner would be safe. Bruce Banner and Tony Stark would be safe. Not that I have a problem with changing out heroes. It's just, Bruce Banner has that giant burden to carry, and Tony Stark is Tony Stark. But I'm really glad to hear that that they're doing it in a tasteful way. They're doing it in a good way. I'm really excited to learn what happened to Bruce Banner.
It's something else, dude. Like it's like okay, they have you kind of on edge for 2 issues. Like you don't know what's about to happen to Banner.
Now I will ask you this, without giving away any spoilers. Do you think Bruce Banner will come back to play a major role in the Marvel Universe anytime soon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you think it could be as soon as Civil War 2?
Possibly.
Given how they are building up She-Hulk and now how they're teasing Amadeus Cho to have
no, that's what I'm saying. Because if Cho picks a side, yeah, Banner's going to have to get involved. Because I don't want to, because I can't say too much more, but like the Hulk wasn't in the first Civil War for a reason.
Yeah.
You just can't have the Hulk choosing a side because that side instantly has one of the heaviest hitters in the galaxy. So I don't know. Like I feel like Banner has to be involved because he knows how the Hulk works.
Yeah, and I mean, we already know She-Hulk is involved. Mm-hmm. We've known that she's heavily in all the promotional materials. She's being touted basically as one of the 3 or 4 major players in this,
which is interesting because I guess she's here. She's a prominent role in this book currently. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's just to keep tabs on Amadeus as the Hulk or what. So,
and then we know that that Marvel's now shown us the first 3 covers for Civil War. Mm-hmm. And
I saw the first preview. I saw the previews for Civil War.
Issue 3, Amadeus is the cover.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me really wonder, what role he's going to have in this, because like you said, there's a reason why he didn't take there's a reason why he was not involved in the Civil War.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and we can
but now we know
it.
It's a galactic conflict this time.
Right. We can talk about that cover. It's Amadeus fully hulked out with like half of Iron Man in his hand.
Yeah.
Like half of Iron Man. Like there are no legs. So I don't know what's happening there, but it's crazy. So
as we know, sometimes cover art can be misleading. It's very important to note
it can be, and it has been a lot.
Secret Wars, we're looking at you. How like the last 3 of them basically were like, we're fighting Doom, and we didn't fight Doom.
We talked about Doom a lot, but we didn't fight him.
Basically, we didn't fight him till the end, and what happened in the end was a cheeseburger helped.
Good Lord, the cheeseburger saved the universe, folks. That's all you need to know.
Essentially, a 3-week-old cheeseburger, a moldy quarter pounder, McDouble, whatever you want to call it, saved the universe.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's all we got for this episode of Pull List. Well, thank you all so much for listening to this episode. Please, if you want to have us talk about anything that you're reading, let us know. You know how to get a hold of us. I'm Ray Apollo on Twitter. Josh is
Josh_Finn, 2 N's.
Yes, and you can email at neekpodcast@gmail.com. You can email us. It's fine. We are on the interwebs. We are very nice and friendly men who will talk back to you about comic books if you so inclined to do so.
Or anything else you want to talk about.
I don't know about anything, but some stuff.
I'll talk about anything.
Oh, yes, he will. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I appreciate you being here. All right. Take it easy. Keep those pullers full. Don't forget, Black Panther is out next week. Daredevil Season 2 is on Netflix.
With the always amazing Charlie Cox and John Bernthal.
Go enjoy all the comic goodness. Go see Batman vs. Superman if you haven't. Tell me what you think, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. And that's all we have.
Tell him you like Jesse Eisenberg.
Don't tell me you like Jesse Eisenberg. I will fight you. Thanks for listening. Bye.